morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today we need to take a look at a bunch of cards from Obsidian Flames, or Ruler of the Black Flame as it is over in Japan. And we've reached that lovely point where there are a bunch of cards that are not the kind of cards that are going to set the world on fire initially, but all of these have some good uses and could absolutely see a bunch of play and see a bunch of love. And I'm going to start with CLODSIRE. And then the lovely Anton Boulay is one of my very, very, very favourite people in the entire Pokemon TCG community. I think Antoine is awesome. But when they were going through and translating all of the cards which they thought might be relevant, they didn't do PALDEAN CLODSIRE. And for that, I am a little bit offended. I did translate PALDEAN CLODSIRE, and I like PALDEAN CLODSIRE. I am also horrendously biased. I think that's worth pointing out. So starting off then, what have we got? Well, we've got a Stage 1 Pokemon, and for a single Darkness Energy, both active Pokemon are poisoned. Brilliant. I don't want to be poisoned, but I suppose poisoning you is fun. But for free energy, 80 damage, and if your opponent's active Pokemon is poisoned, it goes up to 200 damage. 200 damage is good. And of course they're poisoned, so that is going to put more damage on top of it. And we've got the PALDEAN CLODSIRE that came around in Paldea Evolved, which has got an ability which will poison them, which makes this quite a lot easier. And let's not forget that Dark Patch has gone and been reprinted in the not too distant past, so that can be used to accelerate the energy. And I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, I'm starting to feel a PALDEAN CLODSIRE deck coming on. And then it will probably test terribly and I'll give up. But until then, I am a little bit excited. But away from PALDEAN CLODSIRE, we've got a whole bunch of others. So how about Trevenant? Now, the attack on Trevenant, free energy, 100 damage. The defending Pokemon can't retreat during your opponent's next turn. It's fine. What is awesome, however, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, put 1 damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon during Pokemon Checkup. That is, remember, the more recent version of Between Turns. And that means 1 after your turn, 1 after their turn, 1 after your turn, 1 after their turn. And if you can trap them in the active for long enough, this can really build up. Hit and run decks that want to put a wall up after hitting, this will be cool. Although, honestly, the free energy in retreat is a bit of a pain. But then you can stop them retreating, and that little bit of damage you're doing actually adds up quite quickly. This one could be very, very fun. Please note also it is completely colourless energy. Now, Ninetales comes in here with great artwork from Yoshioka. And we've got 2 energy here. Puts 9 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. This Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. But remember, we've seen like a billion times this whole, you can't attack next turn. It doesn't matter, alright? We always get around it, it's fine. We've seen it on a million fantastically playable Pokemon. 9 damage counters for 2 energy? Yes. And look, I understand that 9 damage counters for 2 energy is not as good as Sablei's 12 damage counters for 1 energy, and on a basic rather than a stage 1. But also, Sableye, you got to put 10 cards in the Lost Zone. I assure you, dropping 9 damage counters, that will KO a lot of bench sitters. And look, if I go first, I get my Vulpix, I attach an energy, my opponent has a single turn. I then get to evolve, attach another energy, and then I can be dropping damage counters. If I go first, I can be dropping these damage counters before my opponent has had a chance to evolve their Pokemon. Now, it's only 9, so... Only 9. It means that you're unlikely to be KOing multiple evolving Pokemon. You're probably only getting 1. 60 or 70 is the average. But I'll tell you something for nothing. The fact that you can KO it if it's active or bench and start immediately, this could be very, very disruptive in the early game. Hey, while we're talking about fire Pokemon, how about Entei? Now, Entei's got a lovely ability. While this Pokemon is active, your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks deal 20 less damage. And the wording here is very, very important. Because, of course, if we look at something like Copperajah reduces damage by 30, not by 20. but only to itself. Whereas Entei reduces damage by 20 to all of your Pokemon, because it says your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks deal 20 less damage. It does not specify where to, which means it's to everywhere. This is awesome. The attack is 60 damage base plus 20 more for each fire energy for a minimum 3 colorless. You need too much fire energy on there to get up to decent damage. I don't love the attack. But if your opponent's trying to play a spread deck, this is a basic Pokemon that attacks for colorless energy that will basically completely neuter spread decks, if they're spreading damage, not damage counters, of course. This is one to look out for. If your opponent's trying to spread 20, 30 damage, whatever it is, having this in the active can basically completely shut them down. Now, I want to like Seismitoad. This is about the closest Seismitoad the artwork will ever get to looking adorable. But the reality here is it's a stage 2, and like so many cards, the fact that it's a stage 2 is a problem. Now, I do love the ability that says as long as this Pokemon is active, your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks cost 1 colorless energy more. Yes, it's going to massively slow them down, which is great. But the thing is, this is a stage 2, so it's going to take you a couple of turns to get up to the point where their energy is increased, and that really, really hampers it. Basic Pokemon with this ability, way more useful. We've then got 2 water energy, 120. During your next turn, this Pokemon's Echo Voice deals 100 more damage. So it does 120 and then 220, 220, 220. And I know that 220 is a magic number for Pokemon V, and that makes me happy, but it's a stage 2. It's not going to work. I'm sorry. One that will work, but for exactly 1 turn, in half of your games, is Cryogonal. I love Cryogonal. On my first turn going second. Because if I went second and it is my first turn, 30 damage for 1 colorless energy, i.e. can be put in any deck, and automatic paralysis. Yes. Beautiful. But it only works on your first turn, and even then, only if you went second. Although remember, if you went first, you wouldn't be able to attack anyway. But as a one-off for those games against, I mean, if they evolve, remember, they get out of it. But assuming they're not evolving, I don't know, this could be fun. But it's a one-shot deal. Please do bear that in mind. Now, we do have a new Thundurus coming in here. And again, we have a lovely ability. As long as this Pokemon is active, prevent all damage done to your bench Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. So it basically, it looked at Entei and it was like, oh, you reduced damage by 20? Nah, mate, nothing. One thing that is really important to note, Entei reduces damage by 20 to everything, including itself, whereas Thundurus stops all bench damage, but it can itself still be damaged. That's important. And speaking of which, 2 energy, 140, that's pretty good on a basic. Plus 90 to yourself. What I will say, Energy Sticker is a thing. An Energy Sticker, if you can flip a heads, and yes, I know that's a big if, but if you can flip a heads, Energy Sticker lets you attach an extra energy from the discard pile. And that means you can get 2 energy on here pretty quickly. Or, Electric Generator, which is obviously a much better option. This could be 140 turn 1 going second pretty easily. This is a donking machine. If you're hitting for weakness, it's 280, which is the magic number for KOing Pokemon V-Star, and obviously V. And this will get pretty much any unevolved Pokemon. To be fair, you ain't getting a V-Star out before Thundurus gets to attack. But Pokemon V, you'll be a little bit short generally, but non-Pokemon V, or anything that's weak, I adore. Now, it does do 90 to itself, so it's only going to have 20 HP remaining, boo, etc. But it's got a really good ability. And like I say, against some decks, this is going to be stunning. Just literally whack it in the active. And I love the idea of turn 1 going second, 140. That is going to get you a lot of cheeky prizes. Put simply, for the next 2 years or however long this is legal, if I'm playing a lightning deck, I'm playing one of these. And I might only play one. But if I'm playing a lightning deck in the next 2 years, I'm whacking one of these bad boys in, because Yes, I know we've got stuff like Miraidon, which can do a lot more damage turn 1 going second, if I've got free energy. Well, if I've got 1 electric generator, I just make sure both of these are on the bench. If I hit 2 energy off an electric generator, brilliant, I'm attacking with Miraidon. But if I only hit 1 energy on electric generator, then I'm attacking with Thundurus. How many games have you played where turn 1 you got 1 energy off an electric generator and Miraidon wasn't able to attack? That is when Thundurus becomes really, really good. I like this. Speaking of lightning Pokemon with abilities, how about Bellibolt? This one's weird. It prevents all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's lightning Pokemon. So look, if you want to get fancy here, and lightning decks generally tend to go full lightning because of the whole electric generator and stuff. If you want to go a bit silly here, you can legitimately kind of put like a 1-1 or 2-2 line of this in your deck and just instantly win the mirror. It's free. The attack is free energy 100, not affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. It's not a great attack. But in the mirror match, if your opponent is not playing any non-lightning Pokemon and you can get one of these out, you win the game. Worth noting, it just says this Pokemon takes no damage to your opponent's attacks, lightning attacks. It does not say if it's active. So as soon as this comes out on the field against lightning decks, you win. Don't know if you're going to be playing them, but, it's there, ladies and gentlemen. It is absolutely there. Now, we do have a pair of Solrock and Lunatone here. It's fine. A Solrock just searches for 2 basic hit Pokemon and puts them on the bench. Classic call for family. It's fine. And then you've got Lunatone, bad attack. But the ability New Moon says if you've got a Solrock in play, ignore any effects of stadiums on your Pokemon in play. Okay. I mean, look, if there's stadiums you're worried about, whether they're turning off abilities, doing extra damage, whatever, you know what? Yeah. This is actually a decent card. They're both basics, which is nice. It is a 2-card combo. But if there's a particular stadium that's ruining your day, this could actually work. Now, Claydol is a stage 1, which is kind of annoying. The second attack is single energy, 30 plus confusion, no one cares. But the attack here, 1 psychic energy, put damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon until it has 10 HP remaining. If you do, this Pokemon does 120 damage to itself. So you KO yourself, but you do it to put your opponent down to 10 HP remaining, and that's where something like Poison, I'm looking at you, PALDEAN CLODSIRE, comes in really nicely. Yay! We've got I think it's probably way too awkward. It's a stage 1, you're giving up a prize, all of that, and you got to find a way to do the extra 10 damage through something like Poison, but I'm saying that there is a chance here. Now, we do have a Stunfisk, and it's got a weird kind of ability. If it's in the active and has any Pokemon tool attached to it, and it takes damage from an attack by your opponent's Pokemon, 5 damage counters. That's more than normal, though you do have to have a tool. If you are going for a tool, might I suggest Rocky Helmet, which did get a reprint in Scarlet and Violet, because that will put 2 damage counters on, which means when combined with Stunfisk's ability, that's 7 damage counters. This could be fun, ladies and gentlemen. This could be very, very, very fun indeed. So yeah, that's my bet. I like this. In terms of the attack, it's single energy, 30 damage, and the defending Pokemon can't retreat next turn. Basically, what you're doing here is you're trying to trap your opponent in the active, whittling away with a pretty uninspiring attack, let's be honest. But if your opponent attacks you, they take a bunch of damage counters. And the theory here is that you don't trap a good attacker in the active, you trap a bad attacker in the active, and they don't want to sit there kind of poking you. Because if they sit there poking you, they're taking more damage than they're doing. You're finding it funny. And yeah, will it work? Probably not in the long run, in big tournaments and things like that. But as a fun little way to try and have a little bit of a play and frustrate your opponent, yeah, that could be fun, ladies and gentlemen. That could be an awful lot of fun. We've then got ourselves a Malamar with a very nice ability. Once during your turn, you may look at the top card of your opponent's deck, and then the top card of your deck. I mean, the attack is garbage, 90 plus sleep, nobody cares. But I really like the ability here. It's a bench-sitting ability, to be clear. It's an ability where you want to sit on the bench and use it kind of secretly. But I get knowledge of what's on top of my deck and what's on top of my opponent's deck. Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. Whether I've actually got any space for this in my deck is a legitimate question. I don't know how often you're going to be able to find space. I feel like this is one of those cards where you're going to look at it and go, that's such a cool ability, I want to play it. Nah, mate, there's no room in the deck, which is upsetting. But I'm telling you that sometimes, if you play this, you will actually find yourself winning games, and that's pretty gosh darned awesome. Now, the last Pokemon we need to have a look at here is Altaria. 2 energy, 110. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. During Pokemon checkup, they have to flip 2 coins instead of 1. If either is tails, your opponent's active Pokemon is still asleep. It's kind of like we see on Snorlax, except it's your opponent's Pokemon that has to try and wake up, not you. I love this. I genuinely, legitimately love this. Because there are going to be so many games where your opponent stays asleep for 3, 4, 5, 6 turns in a row, they get super annoyed and you win the game. No, the damage isn't great, and yes, there will absolutely be some times where they wake up super quickly and that's going to be really annoying, but there are going to be games where you just stick them in the active turn after turn after turn, and, you're doing 110. It's basically 3 attacks to KO anything. So they got 2 turns to flip a double heads. Statistically, they should make that half the time. And then you're KOing like anything. Keep an eye out for this one. This one could be good. Plus Kurimitsu artwork. Love the Kurimitsu artwork. And then finally, there is one trainer card we need to have a look at. It is Patrol Cap. And it is a tool that says, while it's in the active, cards from your deck cannot be discarded by the effect of your opponent's attacks, abilities, items, Pokemon tools, or supporters, anything. Here's the deal. This one is a really simple card to analyze. This means you will never be milled. So, if you are even remotely worried about milling, play this. You're good. Otherwise, never play it. Just don't do it. But this is a great, and this is what I was kind of talking about at the beginning of the video. There's no way Patrol Cap's going to be a 4 in every deck. Unless milling becomes big. But now everyone's got a tool card which gives them a good answer to milling. Oh yes, this could be fun. Right, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Quite a lot of cards to talk about. I'm done, and now it's over to you guys. Tell me which of these cards are your favourite. Pardon, CLODSIRE. Tell me which ones you're going to be playing around with. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk Pokemon, card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. Oh, and get shoutouts on the channel like the lovely Dojo, who's one of our newer patrons and is a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.